Guys, today is August 2nd. Yeah, August 2nd. Oh, it's right here on my computer. Duh. It's Wednesday, and I want to talk a little bit about some subjects now that I have time. Um, some topics that have concerned me, and topics that I've had discussed in group that I think I deems appropriate to talk about here in case anybody's ever processed this. So, first of all, I'm going to talk about being born male versus transitioning to male. And it says it all in itself. So, I'm going to give you my perspective on this. I'm sorry, I just drank some juice. And put your thoughts out there. It's not it's an open topic. It's just the way I think things through for myself, and it helps me to handle and face the struggles or face the struggles I've had. So, anyway, I'll get right to it. So, males who are born males physically, they're rendered in different societal groups and cultures and things like that. And I kind of touched on this on the update the other day about how I watched the boys and how they learn to make fun of a lot of people. They think it's funny. Uh, I don't think parents realize to reel them in. Oh, they're just boys, and they get that excuse all the time, but that does not excuse them for that behavior. And I would think that parents are more vigilant about that since bullying has caused even 8-year-olds to commit suicide. So I watch, I observe a lot. Now, I am a professional observer. That's one reason why my job was perfect for me. I've got my eyes and ears on all the time, all around me. I don't have to look at something. I know something's going on in my peripheral vision and also all around me, a 360 in my hearing. My senses are just on alert all the time. So, I will, when I'm in crowds and stuff, I will listen in and hone in on, how couples interact at the stores or how the kids are acting and if the parents are correcting them or disciplining them or reeling them in, to be respectful. I watch how the boys are in sports. I watch how the girls are in sports. And I think back when I was a kid and how I felt so cheated that no one could see me for who I really was. I honestly thought through my eyes that I was a boy until someone would say something and reel me back in that physically I'm a girl. I asked the first girl, she was 15, my first crush. I was 8 years old. I asked her to go steady with me. She kind of looked at me and said, "What?" And I knew I'd said something wrong, you know. There was many things in my life that I was reminded that I was not male. However, I am very, very thankful that my parents allowed us 5 children to express ourselves in the manner that we felt for ourselves. We were never gender rolled. Of course, I'm the oldest. I had a motorcycle when I was 11. My dad put me on his motorcycle at 8 years old. I was riding horses in fourth or fifth grade. I was everything I could have done as boy, I did. And of course, I grew up in the 70s, so the girls didn't play with boys. Now, in PE, we would play flag football, and I was always the quarterback. In 8th grade, we had a flag football after school team, and I was quarterback. I loved being in those sports. How did I adjust? The same way as I am an adult is how I've always, as I can remember, uh, faced those issues of me not being male. Um, because of my upbringing in religion, Christianity, I learned to develop a faith, not just a Christian faith. This was a deeper faith because I knew that God knew me 100%. And I never blamed God in my childhood. I used to just say there's a bigger reason for a lot of things, and I don't see it right now. And when I really started going through puberty, there was a time where I was suicidal. But it wasn't because of my gender identity. It was because of my position as the oldest of 5 kids in a house that my parents were pretty much at each other's throats a lot of the times. They were just kids when they started having kids. And so they had their own issues. And I was just old enough to where I kind of was the weight bearer of the framework. For a while, I was the adult. But, as cheated as I felt, and every time I tried to date a guy, I always felt like I couldn't get past the kissing. For me, I felt like I was kissing the same sex, and I just couldn't do it. And I got engaged at 16 because that's how I was brought up. I should be married and pregnant by 18. Never could see myself pregnant, but I'd put the blinders on and try to do what I was supposed to. But the guy I was engaged to was gay. So he never threatened me physically, or not even threatened me, but he never made me feel uncomfortable physically because we never touched. And it was just God's grace that didn't work out. I don't know if I could have went through it anyway. But, the social life and the culture in which boys are raised when they're first born, the gender role in which they're born into, especially I'll talk about Western culture in general. A white male, white child born into the white family and being male, they have certain... When I came into the world in the 60s, they had a certain role. There were big gender roles. And they followed in the 70s. Like I said, I'm very thankful that my parents weren't like that. But I look at the expectations and I think back of the boys at school and high school. And the thoughts that were behind females looking at guys, they're just think with their dick, they're horny, da da da. And then having to have testosterone, at a late age. And I can see where, guys kind of get a short end of the stick, but yet then what women judge them as a lot of times is true, like assholes, But there's a lot of pressure on guys. And they are made to hold their feelings into perspective, their emotions. Testosterone does that to a point. It's kind of like it's set up in the hormones, in the genders. To one is to be the hunter, and the other one is to take care of everything else. And I do see that being in both hormonal stages. I understand why sometimes the connection isn't there with some guys. I think it is a lot of it cultural bringing up, even though I wasn't raised a male, but I was raised as my dad's boy. I fit right into that, taking hormones. Now, what has saved me is the little bit of nurturing I have. I'm a kind person. I'm a good person. I'm not going to be rude to somebody. But I have overcompensated for my gender identity in life. And so it's been a learning experience for me to back away and not be so vocal I get real nervous when I'm around people and people don't know what to say to each other if they're new to each other. So I'm the one who speaks up. I'm the one who makes conversation. And even though I still do it, I don't do it to the level that I used to. There are times I can just be quiet because, I don't have anything to say. And other time before, even if I didn't have anything to say, I'd make things to say. Oh, so you go too, or oh yeah, so oh yeah, so you're so and so's aunt. Always bringing up some kind of to engage conversation in an uncomfortable setting. The nurturing part, the more sympathetic part, I think that can go in both ways. There's a lot of guys who can be sympathetic. However, when in around a bunch of guys, you may not see that side. I know that I've heard through the years that, oh, you don't really know my husband, or you don't really know my brother, or you don't see the real. And that's because they don't engage in that more sensitive side in front of other males. And that's the locker room male egos. That's the playground male egos. They have to prove something or they have to be in the mix. I watch it in the dynamics of my great nephew-in-laws. One is a very bolder kind of male, more of an alpha male. And my other nephew-in-law is more of the soldier. And so I see him trying to sound important and trying to, be at that guy's level, which honestly, the soldier is at this level. The soldier just stays quiet and he, shoots his mouth off a lot. So I am thankful, really, looking back on my life and saying, man, would you just rather be born male? Yeah, in an easy realm of life, but would life have been easier? Would I have been raised in a different way? I don't really what ifs. I look back, I remember my struggles, I remember my pain, I remember the tears, I remember the unbalanced life I had and trying to balance the scales constantly. But I also am the kind of person that looks back and thanks God for the life I've had because it's taught me so much. Because I've experienced things I would have never experienced if I'd been born male. And maybe that's the reason why we have these journeys, so that we can bring something new to the table. So that we can share to people not all guys are assholes, or to women who are controlled, or there's better men out there. They're not like they used to be. Well, we've got a White House full of them right now, but in general, in the culture, in society, in your neighborhoods and in your little small towns and stuff, generally the mood has changed. The gender roles have changed. It's our generations and still coming are tearing down the walls to gender roles and boundaries. So I am still, believe it or not, I'm caught in kind of an old-fashioned setting, but yet I understand that there has to be walls torn down. I understand that there has to be shade of gray because people can't exist on black and white. So here it is out there about being born male and living as female and transitioning to male. If you have any more questions about this or you want to hear, this is already 14 minutes. I'm a good talker. I could go on. But that's basically how I handle my life. I look back and I'm thankful for the valleys. I'm thankful for the obstacles. And I'm only looking forward to building and learning, expanding my knowledge, and just continuing to be a good, kind person. You guys take it one day at a time and always make your journey as simple as possible. We'll talk to you later. Bye.